Hi, welcome to the video walkthrough for my website, Nihongokaiwakyozai.com, which in English means Japanese conversational teaching materials. This is a site that I created based on a hobby of mine, which is learning Japanese. I take lessons online and found that there is a lack of good materials for Japanese teachers to use to engage their students in valuable conversational lessons. Um, so this goal aims to fill that need. And for more background about the site and the reasons for creating it and the needs that it fills, please read the README on my GitHub repository for the site. This is mainly an introduction to a tour of the site itself. So this is the home page, and the menu bar here includes a link back to the home page. These are links to each of the categories. It's all in Japanese, so I'm going to kind of talk through it. For example, sports and fitness, culture and lifestyle, health, food, society, environmental, and then animals and business and technology are the categories of news topics. This is the About Us page, which explains the purpose of the site and also talks about the fact that it is not monetized. It's fair use of the news articles that I use here so as not to violate copyright laws, and purely for educational purposes. And there's a contact form here that people can reach out to for questions that they may have. But going back to the home page, the topics are also listed here. Same links going to the different categories of news articles. And these are just some direct links to popular articles here, and recent articles here, so people can just directly jump to things that might be of interest to them. But for example, for the tour, we can go to one of the categories. I'll just pick business and technology here. And here we have an article about a robotic rice farming machine, and then Toyota's hydrogen car engine article. And we can click on any one of these. This one is virtual tours of department stores in Tokyo, which is kind of fun. The majority of these articles come from NHK, although some of them also come from Asahi News. One nice thing about these stories is that they all have an accompanying news video with them. And this helps to engage
仮想現実の技
students
術で
after they
店
read
内の様
something.
子が
It's
再
kind
現
of fun to actually
されま
watch
し
a video about them.
た。
This one
デパート大手
is
三越伊勢丹ホールディングスのサー
the
ビス
virtual
です。
tour there. Looks like it skipped
利
a
用
little
者
bit,
は
but
仮想の
that
店内
doesn't
を歩
generally happen. These videos are streaming live from my pCloud server. I didn't want to host the video files in the WordPress folder. It would weigh it down if I kept it hosted with the rest of the site. So the video files are relatively large, so they are hosted and streamed from my cloud drive. This is the first part of every article has vocabulary that with a level, the Japanese language proficiency level here listed, and example sentences that people can use this drop down for. And so teachers can review vocabulary before getting into the meat of the article. Here is the article. It's all in Japanese, but if there are more beginner students, there's phonetic pronunciations for some of the harder to read characters, but if they need more assistance, they can click on the button there to show the Ruby characters, the phonetics for each of the Chinese characters to help with the reading. So that's an option that teachers can use for depending on the student. So this is the article that's taken from. Some of these I simplify with a translation just to make it easier Japanese. But this NHK site actually produces articles that are written in relatively accessible, easy Japanese, specifically for people learning Japanese. So it's already a great resource, but this site helps to get the most out of those resources. First, by following up each article with article questions. So these are just comprehension. This one says, which department stores can people shop at virtually in Tokyo? And so is it in Shibuya and Shinjuku or Harajuku, which are some famous wards in Tokyo? And so by reading the article, the student will know the answers to those questions. So these are relatively easy questions. They're not meant to be difficult. They're just meant to engage the student. And then because the goal of this is to facilitate free conversation for students that want to enjoy using the language that they are otherwise learning through their textbook studies, this is a supplement to that to allow them to have the language come to life for them. Each article has discussion questions, which I've either thought of or come up with through discussions with my Japanese teachers. And they have English translations just so that the student can quickly get a grasp of what the question is asking, and they can spend their time moving on to thinking about what they want to say in response. So are there any disadvantages to shopping in virtual reality? And this helps students just share their thoughts or opinions about these topics that are introduced in the articles. Okay, so that's a review of one of these articles, and maybe I can look at another one just to make sure that these videos are all going smoothly. They should be pretty good all around. I've tested them. And this one is about articles, or eggs, and that are made from
ハンバーガーに挟まれた美味しそうなスクランブルエッグに見えますが、実はこれ卵ではないんです。
So that's good. And I'll go now into sort of the back end of the WordPress. A lot of that functionality is accomplished with plugins. I didn't program this site from scratch. It is a WordPress site. Most of the functionality, again, is achieved with third-party plugins. But I did make some changes to the HTML as necessary for kind of touch-ups. One of the things that was necessary is, the Ruby text that's needed for this Japanese text, which is the phonetics. The Ruby tag of HTML is what's used to be able to display those. Ruby tag combined with this RT tag, which is where the phonetics go. And so I had to manually put those in for things like the titles of the article. There's the WordPress article builders just don't facilitate the Ruby text natively. So those manual changes need to be made. And here I'll look at the builder for the egg article that we just looked at. And this is the link for that streaming video we saw. And this is actually using the Wonder Video Embed plugin. But I did make some changes as necessary directly in the HTML for this, for different tools on the video player or sizing and positioning within the page. I wanted it centered, and so I was able to fix the HTML to accomplish that. The collapse expand plugin here is what's used, and here's the tag, you can see it, that's used with that plugin for expanding the vocabulary example sentences, and it's also used for expanding the phonetic, optional phonetic version of the article. And there's the rest of it. The rest of it is all pretty straightforward. And I think that pretty much rounds out the tour of the website. Thank you very much.